Liz and James, before we get stuck into it, obviously we should pay our respects to the Bedouin peoples of Dubai and their caravans, past, present and emerging. And whatever you do, don't call First Nations or First People or First Anybody's primitive, says Chris Bowen, and you must be sacked if you do. Perhaps someone needs to send Mr. Bowen a dictionary for Christmas. The word primitive derives from the Latin prime, which means first or original. James.
Well, yeah, this all comes back to, a number of really amazing scenes this week. First, we had Chris Bowen at Dubai here. Do we have the grab?
Let's have a look. Take it away, Chris.
Gotta play.
Friends, I begin with an acknowledgement that at the heart of action on climate change must be profound respect for those who've cared for our respective lands for millennia, the Indigenous people across the world.
Kick it away, Jen.
So this whole, Australians voted no by 60 to 40% on this all of this stuff. I was told reliably that, if we voted no, we would never get a welcome to country again. But apparently we're going off and imposing these things in Dubai, of all places. I absolutely love the incredible self-regard here of Chris Bowen. What does he even mean by that? Because if you trace all of us back far enough, we're all indigenous to some place, somewhere, something. Does this mean that, Celts in England can now have a say over whether or not we have nuclear reactors in England?
Liz.
Well, it just added to the comedy that was always COP28. The very fact that this was held in Dubai, the UAE being among the top 10 oil producers in the world, the fact that the COP president in the lead up to this hallowed conference was actually caught out saying he intended to use the conference, being CEO of an oil company himself, use the conference to hopefully make a few oil deals during the meet and greet. And the fact that he didn't think it was necessary to phase out fossil fuels.
And presumably he is one of the Indigenous people that Chris Bowen was referring to.
Well,
so Chris Bowen should be listening to the Bedouin tribes, all of whom want the oil.
There you go.
They do.
This guy Bowen is an idiot. I mean, seriously, as Andrew Bolt pointed out rightly during the week, this is so anti-science, this idea that certain people looked after and cared for the environment, and then along came evil old industrial revolution which destroyed everything. Memo to Chris Bowen: more people have been dragged out of poverty, misery, short lifespans, horrific deaths, child malnutrition, all of that because of the industrial revolution, James.
But, here's the thing. I mean, yes, you're absolutely correct about that. But what is also really interesting here is the way, all of these different sort of leftist ideologies have kind of fused into one. And so, you had the sort of Greta Thunberg, fall of man, carbon emissions kind of original sin sort of thing. And that's now fused with the whole racial thing that's the big thing on the left now. And so now the original sin is about Indigenous people, not the environment. Now, of course, they fused together here in this marvelous bit of poetry from Chris Bowen. But the one thing I'll say about COP28 is that there was a headline, I think it was in the Sydney Morning Herald, that said COP28 has become the new Davos. It's become the new World Economic Forum. And to which I say, at first I'm like, oh, Jesus, God, not a number of these. But now I'm thinking, actually, hang on. If people are going to get together, cut deals, call for more nuclear power, and, talk about keeping the energy flowing for global prosperity, I'm actually okay with that.
Well, we'll talk later in the show, too. We're delighted to have Ian Plimer on the show. We've got Bridget McKenzie on the show. We've got Sharon Haskell in a minute, which will be fantastic. But we will talk more about the fact that, of course, COP28 said, let's go nuclear. And Chris Bowen was left standing alone, so he dreamt up this other nonsense to get himself some publicity. What a joke.